at a table full of her friends. She said, "You can't even meet the lowest bar as a man, let alone make me believe you can provide." I walked out, upgraded, and now my new girl greets her. When she crawled back, begging me to take her back. What's up, Reddit? So this whole thing started when I thought I was in a solid relationship, only to find out I was basically signing up for free entertainment at my own expense. What followed was a mix of petty digs, wild entitlement, and me realizing I was dealing with someone who had zero grip on reality. I kept my cool, played it smart, and let her dig her own hole. Alright, so I Owen, 25 male, run my own HVAC business, own my house outright, and honestly, life's been good the last few years. I started the business young, right after trade school, because I hated the idea of clocking in for someone else forever. Took a couple years of busting my back, long nights, and living cheap, but it paid off. Now I've got contracts with a few commercial buildings, I'm booked out months ahead, and I'm making more than most people I know. I tell you this because apparently none of that mattered to my ex, Patricia, 24 female, worked as a manager at this boutique downtown, and we met through a mutual friend at some BBQ. At first, she seemed cool. She was funny, outgoing, dressed like she stepped out of one of those lifestyle magazines. And honestly, I thought I was lucky to have someone like that interested in me. She liked how independent I was. At least that's what she said early on. The first few months were good. Normal dates, weekend trips, nothing crazy. She seemed proud of me when I told her I owned my business, and she even bragged once to a friend that I owned a house at my age. I thought, yeah, this could go somewhere. So around 4 months in, I asked her to move in. Made sense, I had the space, and she was staying over half the week anyway. Here's where things started slipping. First, she'd make little comments about my house. Not big stuff, just digs that didn't sit right. Like, don't you think this couch looks a little outdated? Or, all my coworkers live in condos downtown? It's so much nicer than this neighborhood. I brushed it off because whatever, everyone's got opinions. But I remember thinking, condos? You mean those boxes stacked on top of each other, where you get to hear your neighbors sneeze through the walls? Meanwhile, I've got a paid-off 3-bedroom with a garage. But sure, Patricia, tell me again how an overpriced shoebox is so much nicer. Then it was furniture. We should get a new dining table like the one my cousin posted on Instagram. I'd look at the perfectly fine table I built with my uncle when I first moved in and just roll my eyes. This one's solid wood, not that flimsy particle board crap, I told her once. She said, yeah, but it's about style, not just durability. That's when it clicked. Patricia was more about looks than substance. At first, I didn't take it too seriously. Everyone's got their quirks, right? I figured she'd get over the obsession with appearances once she realized how stable her life was with me. I mean, she wasn't paying rent anymore, didn't have to worry about bills, and could still afford to spend half her paycheck on whatever limited edition clothes that boutiques sold. Still, those comments piled up. She kept saying, it's not about money, Owen. It's about lifestyle. That word, lifestyle, kept coming up. Always from her. To me, lifestyle meant freedom. Owning my time, not stressing about rent, being able to take off if I wanted. To her, lifestyle meant shiny things and looking impressive to people she barely knew. I remember one Sunday morning I was fixing a leak in the attic. Nothing major, just a pipe sweating. Patricia poked her head up and asked what I was doing. I told her, and she goes, it's so weird dating someone who actually works with their hands. She didn't say it like a compliment either. More like she was trying to figure out if she should be embarrassed or not. I just smirked and said, yeah, weird how I don't have to call another man to fix my house. That shut her up, but she didn't laugh. Looking back, those were the red flags waving right in my face. Too stupid to notice them. But I told myself, nah, she's just adjusting. She's been around this high-end fashion world too long. She'll get over it. Plus, the good moments were still good. We had fun going out, cooking together, even just watching dumb reality shows at night. It wasn't all bad. The real problem was that Patricia cared way too much about what other people thought. Like, we'd go out to eat somewhere casual, and she'd complain the place wasn't Instagram-worthy. Or if one of her coworkers mentioned their boyfriend had a corporate job, she'd act all quiet when someone asked what I did. That stung a little because I knew damn well I made more than half these so-called corporate professionals. I should have trusted my gut. The way she talked about normal jobs like that was some higher class than owning your own company. But I thought if I kept showing her the life I was building, she'd eventually appreciate it. You know, see the value in having a man who could actually provide, not just pose for LinkedIn. Instead, she doubled down. The house wasn't good enough, the neighborhood wasn't fancy enough, and my work wasn't sophisticated enough. Every time she dropped one of those lines, I'd crack a sarcastic comment to diffuse it. But deep down, I was already clocking it all. I just didn't pull the plug yet. And that was mistake number one, giving her the benefit of the doubt when I should have recognized I was dealing with someone entitled. After a couple months of living together, Patricia started working longer hours at the boutique and hanging out with some of her coworkers more. At first I thought, cool, she's making friends. Maybe she won't complain about my neighborhood so much if she's busy. Wrong. These girls, Anna and Maria, were like the gasoline on Patricia's fire of entitlement. I'd hear their names all the time. Anna and Keith just got back from Bermuda. Or, Maria and Nathan are going to Napa next weekend. Every story ended with some luxurious trip or expensive restaurant. And of course, Patricia would slide in her little comparisons. That kind of exchange became routine. Every time one of her friends did something, suddenly I was supposed to match it. Didn't matter that I already took her to a lake house last summer, or that we went to concerts, nice dinners, and weekend trips. No, if it wasn't branded and shiny, it didn't count. And the thing that killed me was she kept twisting my business into something small whenever her friends came up. One evening she came home, dropped her bag on the counter, and casually said, "Maria asked what you do again today. I just said you do maintenance work. Easier to explain." I stopped mid-bite of my sandwich. Maintenance work? Patricia, I own an HVAC company. Yeah, but that doesn't sound, impressive. People don't really get it. Impressive? You mean like fixing the systems that keep every building comfortable so your boutique doesn't feel like a sauna in July? That kind of unimpressive? She didn't even answer, just shrugged like it wasn't worth debating. That's when it hit me. She wasn't proud of me. She was embarrassed. Not because of who I was, but because she thought her friends judged me by my job title. The thing is, I wasn't about to beg for respect. I knew what I built, and I knew what it was worth. My bank account and my house spoke louder than whatever fake lifestyle her friends were parading on Instagram. But it still pissed me off how casually she threw me under the bus. A couple weeks later, Patricia told me Anna and Maria wanted to do a couples dinner, and she thought we should come along. "It'll be fun," she said. "You'll finally get to meet them." Something about the way she said finally bugged me, like she was presenting me for inspection, but I played it cool. "Sure, but don't downplay me in front of them," she smirked. "Just don't embarrass me, okay?" Embarrass her? The girl living rent-free in my house was worried about me embarrassing her. Leading up to that dinner, I started noticing how much energy Patricia put into appearances, picking out her outfit days in advance, practicing how she'd introduce everyone, even stressing about which car we should drive. I drive a reliable truck for work. Nothing flashy, but it's clean and gets the job done. She hated it. "Couldn't you at least borrow something nicer for the night?" I laughed in her face. "Yeah, let me just go down to the dealership and test drive a Ferrari for dinner. I'll bring it back after dessert." She didn't laugh. She was serious. That's when I knew the dinner wasn't about eating. It was a show. And look, I wasn't nervous about meeting her friends. I could hold my own in any conversation. But I had a bad feeling Patricia was setting me up to look less than, so she could feel superior by association. It was the kind of energy you can smell from a mile away. The Friday before the dinner, we had a mini blow-up about it. She was rambling again about Keith's job in marketing. "Keith gets to work from home half the week. That's such a normal job. Why can't you do something like that?" I leaned back in my chair and grinned. "Because Keith doesn't get called at 2 a.m. to fix a broken furnace in the middle of January. And Keith doesn't make as much in a year as I do in 6 months." She blinked like I just spoke another language. "It's not about money, Owen." "No," I said, standing up. "It's about you wanting to brag to your friends that your boyfriend wears button-down shirts to stare at spreadsheets all day." "Sorry, not me." She huffed, called me stubborn, and stormed off. I didn't chase her. I wasn't about to waste breath convincing someone who couldn't see past the shine on a cheap lifestyle. But I'll admit, I was curious how that dinner would go. Because one thing about me, I don't play the doormat. If Patricia thought she was going to parade me around as her maintenance guy, she had another thing coming. So, dinner day rolls around and we're heading to this restaurant Patricia picked. One of those downtown spots where the menu doesn't have prices, just fancy descriptions like seared grass-fed whatever. I could already smell the pretentiousness before we even pulled into the valet. Patricia was in her element, dressed like she was walking a runway, glued to her phone, double-checking what Anna and Maria posted on their stories. Me? I had on a button-up and jeans. I wasn't about to fake being someone else just to fit into her little status audition. We walk in and find Anna and Maria at a table with their boyfriends. Anna introduces Keith first. He's in digital marketing. He does the firm handshake, leans back in his chair like he invented the internet. Maria follows up with, This is Nathan. He's in corporate finance. Nathan nods like his job saves lives. Patricia's turn. She smiles stiffly and says, This is Owen. He owns a maintenance company. Or she dragged out the pause before maintenance, like she was debating whether she should just say, I fix toilets for fun. I didn't flinch. I just gave the guys a nod. Yep, I make sure the heat works when it's freezing and the AC works when it's boiling. Maintenance, HVAC, lifesaver, take your pick. The dinner starts, and it's exactly what I expected. Keith goes on about ad campaigns and engagement metrics like anyone at the table cared. Nathan casually drops portfolio diversification 3 times in one sentence. Patricia's laughing along like they're the funniest men alive. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there thinking, these dudes couldn't change a light bulb without a YouTube tutorial. Then Keith starts bragging about a trip he planned for Anna. Bermuda. All-inclusive resort. Long weekend. Anna beams, holding his arm like he just gave her a kidney. Patricia leans forward, all starry-eyed. That sounds incredible. Owen and I never do anything like that. I looked at her like she just grew a second head. We literally talked about Costa Rica 2 months ago. You said wait until summer. That's different, she snaps. That's not a real vacation. I raised an eyebrow. Oh? Enlighten me. What makes a vacation real? You know, somewhere romantic with luxury service. Resorts. Fine dining. Yeah, because Costa Rica's just dirt and coconuts, right? I shot back deadpan. Maria jumps in with, Nathan and I went to Napa last month. Wine country is so romantic. Way better than, like, camping. Patricia nods like a politician. See? That's what I'm talking about. Some people know how to plan real dates. That was it for me. Real dates? You mean like the lake house last summer? Or the concert downtown? Or that restaurant you begged me to take you to last month? She waves her hand. Those don't count. They're not impressive. I sat back, smirking. Not impressive, huh? Funny how you were posting about all those nights on Instagram, like they were the best thing ever. The table went awkwardly quiet, but Patricia kept pushing. Owen, let's be honest. You're content running a little maintenance business forever. Then she smirked and leaned forward, like she was about to drop her ace card. Owen, you know you can't even meet the lowest bar as a man, let alone make me believe you can provide. The table gasped. Anna covered her mouth. Maria's eyebrows shot up. Even Keith and Nathan looked like they wanted to slide under the table. I leaned back, laughing. Yeah? At least I built something real. You've got nothing except a habit of leeching off men and pretending you're above them. It must be tough being so unsatisfied while milking me dry. Now, normally, I keep things calm. But that line? That was her swinging for the fences. I leaned forward, looked her dead in the eye, and said, It's funny, Patricia, that my little business pays for the roof over your head, the car you drive, and every bite you eat. Without me, you're just a broke girl with an attitude? She scoffed. That's not true. You just don't have ambition. You're comfortable being small time? I couldn't help but laugh. Small time? You think these guys are more successful than me? I turned to Keith. Hey man, what do you make a year, if you don't mind me asking? Keith hesitated. About $70,000. I nodded. Solid. Respect. Then I turned to Nathan. And you? He looked at Maria, then said, 85. Nice. You're doing all right. Then I leaned back and looked at Patricia. Want to know what I made last year? Her eyes went wide. Thinking I'm going to drop some shitty number, Owen. Don't. 160,000. I dropped it like a mic. The table froze. Anna blinked. Maria's mouth literally fell open. Keith looked like he swallowed a lemon. Patricia went bright red. That's not the point, she muttered. I grinned. No, because 5 minutes ago the point was that I can't provide for you. But now that the numbers are on the table, suddenly money isn't everything? It's not about money, it's about image, she said weakly. Image, I repeated, shaking my head. Right. So what are you supposed to tell people when they ask what I do? She stammered. That my boyfriend fixes AC units? No, I said, smiling coolly. You tell them your boyfriend owns a business that makes 6 figures. And while your friends' boyfriends are worrying about their bosses breathing down their necks, I'm my own boss. That's real success. Not some fancy title that pays half my income. Silence. You could hear the forks hitting the plates. Patricia looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her whole. I flagged the waiter. Check, please. Patricia hissed, Owen, what are you doing? Paying for my dinner and heading out? You can't just leave. Watch me. The server split the checks. Mine was about $40 for the salmon and a drink. I set it down, stood up, and slid my chair back. Thanks for dinner, everyone. Good luck splitting the rest. Patricia's face twisted. You always pay when we go out. I gave her the coldest grin I've ever given anyone. Yeah, but apparently I can't provide for you. So I figured I should stop trying. Then I walked out, calm, collected, not even looking back. Best feeling I'd had in months. I drove home with the windows down, music blasting, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't care what Patricia thought. Didn't take long for her to start blowing up my phone. By the time I parked in my driveway, I had 6 missed calls and a pile of texts. Patricia, I didn't mean it like that. Patricia, you embarrassed me in front of everyone. Patricia, do you realize how childish you looked? Yeah. According to her, I embarrassed her. The same woman who basically called me useless in front of strangers. I tossed my phone on the counter, cracked open a soda, and stretched out on the couch. She wanted me to panic and call back? Not happening. By 11 p.m., the paragraphs were coming in hot. Owen, please stop ignoring me. I messed up, but you completely overreacted. Keith and Nathan don't hate you. They just thought you were rude. If you'd been more humble about your business, maybe it wouldn't have gone that way. This can still be fixed. Then another. Anna had to cover me for dinner. Do you know how humiliating that was? You're supposed to be the man, Owen. Can you at least Venmo me back so I can pay her? I laughed so hard I almost choked. First, she tells the table I can't provide, then begs me to send her money because she couldn't cover herself. The entitlement was insane. Next morning, I woke up to find her sitting on the edge of the bed like some horror movie villain. She must have snuck in after I knocked out. Owen, she started, we need to talk. You can't just shut me out like this. I rubbed my eyes. You do realize you nuked the relationship at dinner, right? She crossed her arms. You didn't have to storm out like that. You embarrassed me. You made me look crazy. I actually laughed. Patricia, you didn't need my help looking crazy. You handled that all by yourself. That's when the fake tears kicked in. She grabbed my arm, saying, I only said those things because I care about our future. Don't you get it? I was pushing you to be better. I pulled my arm back. Better? I own my house. I run a business. I make more than both those guys combined. Meanwhile, you're the one living here for free. If anyone needs to be better, it's not me. Her face snapped like a rubber band. Tears off, anger on. Wow. So you're just going to throw away everything we've built because of one little comment? One little comment? I said, staring at her. You told me I can't satisfy you or provide for you. That's not little. That's you showing me exactly how you see me. She pouted. You're being dramatic. Couples fight, Owen. Grown men don't just walk out over words. I sipped my coffee. Grown men also don't stick around when their girlfriend treats them like a paycheck with arms. She didn't like that one bit. Packed a bag, slammed a few drawers, and tossed a note on the counter saying she was staying with Anna until I cooled off. Like I was the one losing my mind. Honestly, it was the quietest, most peaceful week I'd had in ages. I'd come home from jobs, dropped my boots by the door, and the house actually felt like mine again. No complaining about my truck, no lectures about normal jobs, no side eyes about how I dressed. Just silence. Beautiful silence. Of course, Patricia couldn't leave it there. Monday's text. I'm giving you space, but you need to realize this relationship is worth saving. Tuesday. You're going to regret this. Nobody will love you like I do. Translation. Nobody else will put up with her nonsense. By Wednesday, she called my mom. My mom rang me later, laughing so hard I thought she was choking. Some girl named Patricia called crying about how she made a mistake and needs you back. I told her if she's too dumb to appreciate a man who owns a business and a house at 25, then she doesn't deserve him. Mom, you really said that? I sure did. And then I told her you were raised better than to beg for people who don't respect you. Patricia must have wanted to melt into the floor after that one. Thursday, she sent me a long wall of text. I only said those things because I was scared of being judged by my friends. Do you want me to look stupid in front of them? Do you want me to be the girl dating a handyman? That was it. The word handyman. Not entrepreneur. Not business owner. Handyman. I didn't reply. Didn't even give her the time of day. Friday night, I was on my porch, eating a burger I grilled myself, watching the sunset. Patricia was probably sitting in Anna's apartment stewing, telling herself I'd eventually crawl back. And maybe she believed that. That was her delusion, thinking she was the prize. But sitting there in my chair, peaceful, full, and unbothered, I realized losing her wasn't a loss at all. It was the upgrade. The house felt normal again. And while the peace felt great, I knew one thing. I wasn't about to risk her sneaking back in whenever she felt like it. She already tried it once, showing up while I was asleep. That was enough for me. So I went to the hardware store for supplies, filters, sealant, and new locks. I was halfway down the aisle with the deadbolts when I heard a voice. Owen, Oh my God, is that you? I turned and saw Courtney, a girl I hadn't seen since high school. She was holding paint samples and smiling like we'd just walked out of class together yesterday. Courtney? Wow. Been a minute, I said. We started talking, and it was easy. She told me she'd just moved back to town after finishing her nursing degree and was working at the hospital. We swapped dumb high school memories, like when her car broke down in the parking lot senior year, and I jumped it with my old truck. Stuff I hadn't thought about in years. Before we left, she said, "We should grab coffee sometime." Yeah, let's do it. We swapped numbers. That night, I changed every lock on the house. Took me about an hour, tops. When I slid the last bolt in, I leaned back and grinned. Patricia could scream all she wanted. She wasn't stepping foot in here again. Before I crashed, I boxed up the rest of her stuff. Makeup bag, heels, random bathroom junk, and shot her a text. Your things will be on the porch Saturday at noon. Pickup only. Sure enough, Monday evening. The fireworks started. Patricia, why doesn't my key work? Patricia, did you change the locks? Seriously? Patricia, this is still my home too, Owen. I laughed. She really thought she had rights to my place. I typed back, not your home. You packed your stuff and left. Remember? That's called moving out. She came back swinging. You're being ridiculous. Who changes the locks on their girlfriend? Correction, I wrote. Ex-girlfriend. And the guy who owns the house does. She doubled down. You're so petty. I still have a right to be there. I couldn't resist. Right to my house? What's next? You gonna claim squatters' rights because you left a toothbrush in my bathroom? No response after that. Guess even she realized how dumb she sounded. Tuesday, I met Courtney for coffee. We sat at a little cafe near the hospital, and what was supposed to be a quick catch-up turned into 3 hours. She asked about my HVAC business, and when I explained how I started it straight out of trade school, she actually looked impressed. That's gutsy, she said. Most people our age are still renting apartments, barely figuring life out. I grinned. Guess I missed the memo about needing permission to be successful. She laughed. No digs, no side eyes. Just normal conversation. The difference between her and Patricia was night and day. Meanwhile, Patricia kept spiraling. Wednesday morning, she tried again. You didn't have to go that far with the locks. That was cruel. What if I needed something? I replied, already handled it. Your boxes are on the porch Saturday at noon. Come grab them. After that, I'm donating the rest. And yeah, the locksmith industry thanks you for the business. Later that night, when I got home from a job, I found a note folded under the doormat. You can't erase me like this. I'll be at Anna's until you cool off. I crumpled it up and tossed it in the trash without even opening the door. Friday morning, Patricia went nuclear. Why are you doing this, Owen? You're acting like I'm some stranger. We built a life together. You can't just lock me out like I'm nobody. I typed back one line. You packed your stuff and left. That makes you nobody in this house. She blew up my phone with 10 more messages. Paragraphs about how I was being childish and short-sighted. My favorite one was, you're going to regret treating me like this. I was the best thing that ever happened to you. I almost spit out my coffee. I wrote back, the only thing I regret is not changing the locks sooner. Silence after that. By Saturday, Patricia was a ghost, and Courtney was front and center. We went out that night to a decent restaurant. Not a forced, uptight one, just good food and good vibes. She asked me flat out, so what happened with your last relationship? She thought dating a guy who runs an HVAC company wasn't fancy enough, I said. Courtney rolled her eyes. That's ridiculous. You run your own business. You've got more going on than most people. Try telling her that, I said. Courtney smirked. Her loss. I grinned. For once, I actually agreed with that phrase. That night, I was in the garage cleaning up some tools when I heard the doorbell. I wiped my hands, walked over, and opened the door. There she was, Patricia, standing on my porch with 2 suitcases, mascara streaked down her face, like she was staging her own dramatic movie scene. Owen! She gasped, like she'd just run a marathon. Thank God you're home. I've been thinking all week, and I know we can fix this. I looked at the suitcases, then back at her. What's this? You moving into Anna's place didn't work out? She shook her head, stepping forward like I was about to scoop her into a hug. No, I'm moving back in here. I realized I was wrong. I just needed time to process. I leaned against the doorframe. So you needed time to process calling me small time in front of strangers? Or time to process telling me I can't satisfy you? Just curious which part took a week of thought. Her lip trembled. That's not fair. I didn't mean those things. Anna and Maria said I was crazy to even say them. I wasn't thinking. So, your friends had to explain to you that trashing your boyfriend in public wasn't a good move? I asked, smirking. Sounds about right. She clutched her suitcase handle like it was a lifeline. Owen, please. I know I messed up, but I love you. We can work this out. I just needed time to realize what I had. Before I could answer, headlights swept across the driveway. A car pulled in, and I recognized it immediately. Courtney's. She stepped out holding takeout bags and a bottle of wine. Right on cue. Patricia turned, saw her, and froze. Who is that? I grinned. That's Courtney. Patricia's eyes went wide. Courtney, who? My girlfriend, I said flatly. I said it on purpose. We'd been out all week, the vibe was locked in, and I wasn't letting Patricia stage a comeback on my porch. The blood drained from her face. Your girlfriend? Courtney walked up, a little confused, and kissed me on the cheek. Hey, brought Thai food. Everything okay? Everything's fine, I said. Patricia was just leaving. Patricia whipped around, eyes blazing. Leaving? I'm not leaving. We live together, Owen. You can't just replace me like this. You didn't live here, I corrected. You squatted. And then you moved out. Remember the part where you packed your bags and left a note? That's called breaking up. Her voice jumped an octave. We were on a break. That doesn't mean you get to shack up with some nurse in a week. Courtney raised an eyebrow but stayed quiet, letting me handle it. First off, I said, keeping my tone calm, Courtney's not some nurse. She's someone who actually respects me. Second, Patricia, you didn't take a break. You took your stuff and stormed out. That's called moving out. Patricia's face crumpled. I only left because I needed space to think. I thought you'd fight for me. I thought you'd prove you wanted me. I laughed. Prove I wanted you? You were living in my house for free, and I was still footing the bills. What exactly did I need to prove? Her voice cracked into full meltdown. You can't do this to me. You can't just throw me away. You know I deserve better than being replaced by some random girl from high school. Courtney finally spoke up, calm as ever. You disrespected him. That's not random. That's called consequences. Patricia snapped her head toward her. Stay out of this. You don't know what we had. What you had, I cut in, was me supporting you while you pretended you were better than me. What I have now is peace. Big difference. She stomped her foot like a child. I love you, Owen. Doesn't that mean anything? I tilted my head. You love me now that you know I make more than your friends' boyfriends. Funny how that works. That's not true, she screamed. It's exactly true, I said. You were fine tearing me down until you realized you looked stupid. Now you're back here with suitcases, hoping I'll forget. Not happening. Patricia's meltdown hit full throttle. Tears, shouting, pacing in circles on the porch. You're making a mistake. You'll regret this. Nobody else will ever treat you like I do. Yeah, I said with a smirk. That's the point. She stood there another minute, chest heaving, mascara running, hands shaking on the suitcase handles. Finally, she snapped one of them upright, dragged it down the steps, and loaded both into her car. Courtney and I watched in silence as she slammed her door, started the engine, and peeled out of the driveway. When the taillights disappeared, Courtney looked at me. So, that was your ex? Yep, I said, grabbing the takeout from her hand, and that was her last visit. After Patricia's porch meltdown, the peace in my house was unreal. For the first time in months, I wasn't dealing with nagging, drama, or backhanded comments. Just me, Courtney, and quiet nights with Thai takeout or binge-watching dumb shows. Best trade I'd ever made. But Patricia wasn't done making noise. About 3 days later, I got a text from Maria that said, You won't believe this, but Patricia's back at her parents' house. She's telling everyone you manipulated her into leaving. I laughed out loud. Manipulated? She walked out on her own with bags in hand. But sure, blame me. Turns out her parents weren't thrilled either. Patricia's mom messaged me on Facebook. Long paragraph about how she was concerned and thought Patricia deserved another chance. I didn't even reply. Not my circus. Not my monkeys. Meanwhile, Patricia was busy burning bridges everywhere. Anna was already sick of her after she tried crashing there again. Then Maria mentioned Patricia quit her job at the boutique, saying she needed to focus on her relationship. Joke was on her. Relationship didn't exist anymore. The best part, though? Word about that dinner night had spread. You can't sit there dragging your boyfriend and expect people to forget. Maria said even Keith and Nathan's coworkers were talking about it because those two ran their mouths about how embarrassing it was. Imagine that. Your own sister's boyfriend saying you made him look stupid. Speaking of Keith, he came crawling to me one afternoon at the hardware store. I was grabbing some materials for a job when I saw him by the plumbing aisle, pretending to look busy. He finally walked over. Hey man, he said, all sheepish. Listen, about that dinner, I didn't know Patricia was gonna, say all that. It wasn't cool. I just stared at him. Yeah, well, you laughed when she said it. He rubbed the back of his neck. I mean, yeah, but it was awkward, dude. I didn't know what else to do. Maybe not laugh at my expense, I shot back. That would have been a start. He nodded like a scolded kid. Fair enough. Anyway, no hard feelings? I grabbed the copper fittings I needed and turned away. For me? Number for Patricia? She's done. That was the end of that. Patricia, on the other hand, went fully unhinged. She started posting long rants on Facebook about how men don't appreciate strong women, and people only want submissive partners who won't challenge them. Every post had like 2 likes, probably her mom and some random cousin. Everyone else was either clowning her in the comments or ignoring her completely. One post even said, "Some people think money makes them a man. Real men know how to love properly," which was hilarious, considering she was the one who kept comparing paychecks. Courtney saw the posts and rolled her eyes. She's obsessed with you. It's kind of sad. Yeah, I said. Sad for her. Funny for me. The real kicker came a couple weeks later. Maria texted me again. Dude, Patricia just tried to flirt with one of Keith's buddies at a party, and he straight up told her, "Nah, I don't want to get clowned like Owen." She lost it and left crying. I laughed so hard I had to set my phone down. The reputation she thought she'd build by trashing me had flipped back on her. She was officially the joke. Meanwhile, Courtney and I were leveling up. We joked about the porch moment and made it official the next day. I brought her to a job site one afternoon to check out a remodel, and she was impressed. Yeah, I grinned. Crazy what you can do when you're not busy insulting the guy footing the bills. We laughed, and I realized how easy it was with her. No drama, no ego trips, just respect. Patricia must have realized she'd burned through her last lifeline because one night she texted me, "I miss us. Can we talk?" I stared at the message for a second, then showed Courtney. She smirked. You gonna reply? Nah, I said, deleting it. She made her bed. Now she can sleep in it. And that was it. No grand apology, no closure meeting, no second chances. Patricia faded into the background, stuck living at her parents' place and trying to convince anyone who'd listen that she wasn't the villain. Me? I was fine. Better than fine. I had my business, my peace, and someone who actually wanted to be there. Patricia's meltdown turned out to be the best gift she could have given me.